Myself Kanika from CSC department, assistant professor in School of Engineering and Technology in CTU University, Ludhiana. So today we have discussed about basic concepts of OOP. Everyone know we have to use in a real life OOPs. What the OOPs concept? What are basically OOPs is to be. So today we have to discuss what actually is to be OOPs and how to use the concept of OOPs. So basically OOPs means object oriented programming language. So basically it is basically used to design and develop the program in some modular approach. What is the meaning of modular approach? Modular approach means they have to use some semantics, they have to use some rules, they have to use some concept on based on they have to follow the instructions to step by step to create any program. So basic funda to design a program, they need a basic element is to be a data. So we need to implement that data, we have to require a data and functions that actually perform on data, that have to execute what actually the real world problem is to be, and how we have to create a software, how we have to create that application to solve that real world problem. So there are so many OOPs languages there that we have to use, like C++, Java, Perl, Smoktalk, Perl, Python, so many languages are there. So now we have discussed about the basic OOPs concept. So we have major OOPs concepts are there, like object, class, polymorphism, inheritance, data abstraction, encapsulation, data hiding, message passing, and dynamic binding. So let's start with the first OOP concept, that is the object. So for making any concept in a OOP programming, OOPs concept, first basic building element is a object. So basically we can say that anything that have some real existence in the world is a OOPs. So we can say that to execute anything, to implement any data, to implement any function, to execute, to assess any function, we have to need the object. So basically we can say that it is a collection of all the data members and the member function associated in that class through which that object is to access that functions. So basically object is a access right that can access the entire members of the class based on the which access specifiers they have. Simply I'm just giving a very simple example of OOPs. Like we have a one class fruit, their objects are like mango and their fruit, strawberry, banana, apple, these are the fruits object. Some other example, suppose I have a my name Kanika, okay? I have a unique identification. If anyone know me by my name is Kanika. This Kanika is now an object because Kanika exists in the real world entity. So we can easily say that any object that have some real existence in the world, that is the object. But objects are always associated with the class. So basically another user defined data type is declared as a class. So basically objects are a blueprint that are used to assess the class. But what actually is the class? So basically class is containing the behaviors and the attributes of any object. So basically it contains all the data and all the functions that are relevant to explain, to declare, to define the properties and the behaviors of that object and among the relationship what they have to share. Clear? So another example, we have clear one example like a solar system. In solar systems we have so many objects are there, like moon, sun, planets. These are the member functions. But if you stress about these things, first we always think about we have a solar system. So these are the part of these are the functions of the solar system. If we can say that a solar system is a class, and moon, star, Earth, Mercury, Jupiter, these are the functions of the class, and what the behavior, what is the movement of the earth, how much the earth is revolving around the earth, what is the moon, what is the speed of the moon, what is the functionality of the sun. These are their behaviors, these are the data relevant to the that attributes that have to contain that particular class. So next is anyone average question is object and class are related to each other? These are not related to each other, these are basically a blueprint. Basically a object is a blueprint of the class. So we can say that this is a very simple example. We have to make some house. In house, what we have to do? We just make a land property over there. We have to make we never make starting construction. Firstly, what we have to do? Firstly, we have to make a map. First, we have to make architect a house. What are architect? What are the location? What are the designing of our house? When our designing is going to be finalized, afterward we have to start our house construction. Same way, beta. In this, the construction is a class where actual execution is to be done, and on that the construction is going to be done by the except of the what designing we have to final. So in this way both are related to each other. So we can also say that so object is a categorized, that is a blueprint of any object. So it's very let us discuss with very simple example. I'm just making a very simple example, a sum. In this I'm just make the addition of two variables. In this I was just making a variables, two variables and one function add. So we have to declare the functions in the class, but everyone every time know without main function a compiler will not execute any function. So we require the main function, but we have declared the main function, but we have to execute, we have to add two functions, but at that this function are in the category in the function of add. So what we do? Firstly, we have to make the object of the sum class. So in this we have to make the sum object. This object having access right to access all the functions of the class, but there is one limitation. Object can access only those members of the class that are public in nature. It means that the class giving a right to access the functions by the object, only those functions should be accessed by the object itself. Now we are discussed with the another concepts of OOP, that is the data abstractions, encapsulation and hiding. What is the meaning of data abstraction? So basically abstraction is to abstract something, it means to get something. So basically abstractions concepts come out from when we have an external user over there and they want some information from us, but we have to just given information only designing, but we don't want to give information regarding the implementation. So at that time we have to use the concept of the abstraction. It means the required essential information is provided to the user, to the requirement, to the coder. The implementation of that particular program, that particular application should be hidden from that user. Next concept is the encapsulation. Encapsulate means to capsulate, to combine something, to protect something. So basically what encapsulate, like a simple example of giving to encapsulation is a medicine capsule. Everyone eating a medicine capsule. In this we have a medicine inside the body of the plastic body, but the entire medicine should be in that body. In the same way, beta, in encapsulation a class can secure all the data and the functions within itself, so that no one without their access rights, without their specifiers, they can't externally access outside the class and outside other systems without their restriction what they actually have. So encapsulation concept under the data hiding. It means they have to hide the data from the external outside the system. It means only the person that are linked with the class, that are associated with the class, only they can access the entire functions, entire members of the class, depend upon the what specifiers have to provided and mentioned to all the data members and the member functions. So let us very simple example. I'm just making a one example, class addition. In this I'm just making a three variables A, B and C. In C, I just add two variables A and B. So this is the class, I just make a addition. But I want to assess, देखो in ABC I just making it a private and the integer function I just making it a public. It means the private I just make hidden ABC from the outside. It means the functions and their relevant variable I should be associated within the class, but when I need to make the object of the class, I can access only function add. But if I want to access ABC, I can't access, because we have to provide in this way we have to provide security, because encapsulation concept is that type of concept that help us to provide security. Why it provide the security? Because they enclose the data function into the one place. So that's why with the mention of the access specifiers, only public and protected access specifier should be outside the class only by the object of the class. So next concept we have discussed with the inheritance. Inheritance means to pass our features, to reuse our features. So inheritance basically use the principle of reusability. So basically in this we have two classes over there. One is a base class, another is the derived class. So these base class inherit their feature to the other class. So that's why base class functions, base class data should be used by other classes. This is a basic concept of the inheritance. So in this I have discussed two concepts, base class and derived class. So what is a base class? So base class basically a parent class that inherit his feature, their feature, and the class who use that features, who use that concept is a derived class. So I'm just making a very simple example of yours. Everyone in a family, we have multiple generations are there, grandparents, parents, child. So every time somebody is saying that we have the features of father, we have the features of mother, we have the features of grandparents. So it means we have some features of grandparents, we have some features of parents. This is basically a concept of the inheritance. It means we can easily use our features of the parents and grandparents. This becomes the concept of the inheritance. Let's make with a very simple example. So I'm just making a one class animal. In this I just make two functions, one is eat and one is sleep. So in animals we have so many animals are there, like dog, like pig, like bear, like lion, all are categorized of the animals. These two functions are executed and used by every animal. So I'm just making other class dog. In this I have used the functionality of class animal. So what we have to use? We have to make two functions eat and sleep in one class, and in the class dog we have to use another function bark. But the question arises, what the output of this program? How to access eat and sleep function? So basically this extend keyword, this keyword like scope resolution, basically used as a scope resolution to inherit their features. So when we have to create the object of that derived class, class dog, this object can have right to access their own function, as well they have to access the functions of base class. It means when we execute, they can execute a bark itself, same way they can execute eat and sleep function of this same. So we can say that what is the output of this program? The output of these program is I can bark woof woof, and I can eat and I can sleep. So with the help of our derived class we can easily assess the functions of any base class. Like you, but in human examples we can easily use our parents features, mother side, father side. So this is the basically a real time example inheritance as this. So next we deal with the polymorphism. Polymorphism means many form that exist in more than one form. It means the ability that have to use more than one interface of that particular function. Let us discuss with a very simple example. We have a class shape. In this category, triangle, rectangle, square, polygon, diamonds, all are different shapes, but all are under the one category, all are under the one shape. So we can say that when we talk about the shape, these all are the shape, but it means one object with the multiple interference. So we can say that polymorphism had ability to operate one function in a more than multiple situation. It means they have to perform multiple uses based on one function. So we have two categorized of polymorphism. One is compile time and one is runtime. Compile time polymorphism is that type of polymorphism that are also considered as a early binding, that is also considered as a static binding. It means they have to call the function before the execution of the program. Let us take a very simple example. In this we have to use the concept of overloading. I'm just making a very simple example. See, in this I have to make as operator used plus. If I am writing C is equal to A plus B, what it means, they have to adding the two variables. Second, if I writing C is equal to Kanika plus Handa, it means at that time they have to use the concatenate operator. It means they have to concatenate the two strings. It means we have only one operator over there, addition operator is there, but they have to perform, they have to execute different situations. This is a basically a polymorphism. It means one operator behave differently based on the situation, on which situation we have to use. Another is runtime polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism is that type of polymorphism in this that have to execute the function, that have to execute overload the function at the time of running the program, like overriding function. Overriding function means they have to multiple. Suppose in a simple example, we have to make one class, like a class dog. In this we have to make dog should be inherited into the multiple classes, like dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, because we have varieties of dog category, like Labra is there, Bergens is there, so many categories of dog should be there, but all are having their some common features, but except they have some own features by itself. Clear? But when I talking about, if no person can know about the dog, they know we have a different categories of dog, but they don't about what actually the category of dog is to be. So we can say that it means we have to differentiate there by the objects, by the concept. It is a concept of the polymorphism. Clear? So we can say that a polymorphism can be ability to exist in more than one form. So in other, we have to talk about the function overloading, operator overloading, and virtual function. Firstly, we have discussed about the operator overloading. Operator overloading, it means we have a multiple operators, but they behave differently on different situation. It becomes the operator overload. It means we have to use one operator, but situation should be a different. This I am discussed with a example previously. When we have to addition of two variables, they have just make only addition, but when we have to add two strings, they have to use as a concatenate operator. Same way, we have to talk about the function overloading. It means we have a same function, but we have to use this function again and again. This is a function overloading. How to differentiate compiler? This is a function overloading. So we have a function with same name, but their arguments, their type should be a different. It means, let's have a very simple example. I have just making a one class addition. In this I have to make a one function addition, second function again with the addition, but in one function addition I just make a default argument. Default arguments having no arguments over there. In second I just declare only a one arguments. When the object will assess these arguments, they have to use the semantics of that function. It means they have to use the concept of that functions. So in this way, compiler can easily identify this is a function without argument, this is a function with argument. And virtual functions are that kind of matlab functions that have to override the problem that is occur while the considering of overriding the function. They have to resolve that overriding problem. So what they have to do, they have how they execute. Firstly, they have to declare one function in the base class without body, and this function should be accessed into the multiple classes. It means their declaration should be in the base class and their declaration should be in derived class. So with this derived class they can easily access, so functions are not to be overridden. Afterwards, we have to use the concept of dynamic binding and message passing. Dynamic binding means to combine the linking. To basically these are used at the time of linking the program. How they execute? Suppose when I'm already discussed in the previous, every program execution should be starting from the main function. When the compilers start executing the program, firstly they find for the main function. When they read the instructions step by step, they can read the instructions one by one. Firstly they found for the object of the class. When they found the object of the class, they can link first assessing function assessed by that class. Same way, if they find for the first function, they can jump to the that function. They execute the function, then they read the second line of the function, they execute the second function. Same way they have to linking, so that's why they have to make linking between the procedural call and the execution call. It means at the time of execution what procedure is to be called, they have to execute and they have to linking between them. So that's why the main function, with the help of main function, with the help of dynamic binding, this linking procedure is going to be done and they have to link the procedure and procedural call. Next is message passing. Message passing means when we have a multiple objects of the class, they have to execute for the execution of that procedure. So they, with the help of the message, with the help of the communication, they have to pass the message through the object of the class. So that's in this way, with the help of message passing, they can access the multiple functions of the class. So next is also discussed about the some advantages of OOP. There are first advantage is that we have a basic principle, class and object. So while using any OOPs, we have to know about the two concepts. One is class and one is object, because these are the designing principle. Without class and object, no OOPs program is going to be designed. Second is it reduces the code duplicacy and reusability. Why it could do? Because they have allow a linking between the object or the call at the time of when they have to call. In this way, when the object is to be called any code, automatically they jump to that code. In this way they have to reduce the duplicacy. It means we don't need to be call explain this program again and write this code again and again. With this we can only jump by the linker. They have to link the code and we have to execute all the function. Next is the OOPs implementation and creation of program is very easy. With this they have to reduce the software development time. Why reduce the software development time? Because in this every concept is made by the class and object. In this we also use the concept of the packages. It means we have to make one common package. If a multiple programs, multiple applications do use that package, we can easily import the package. With this way we can easily reduce the software development time. Second is we have to make the concept of the data abstraction. Data abstraction, they have to make a separation between what actually specification is to be and what implementation is done by the user. It means they have to make a differentiate between the what the specification is and how do we have to implement it. Next is they have to use the concept of data encapsulation. Data encapsulation means beta they have to provide a security by using this function, because they have to don't allow access the external user to access the data of the class until unless they don't have any access to write this object. They have to access these functions code of the class. Next is we can easily to develop the softwares because of inheritance, because we have to use the concept of inheritance. So we can easily linking between the multiple classes, we can easily use the one feature to the another class. In this way we have to reduce the software complexity implementation. Next is last is OOPS can also communicate outside the system by using the concept of the message passing, because beta when we have to execute matlab we have to compile the program of OOPS program, firstly they may have to obj file. With this obj they provide a portability to the program. Portability means they can easily portable from one system to the another system by communicating system over there. Next is some disadvantages over there. Disadvantages like because they have to follow the procedure, it means the program length is going to be the large. Because and second is slower the program. Why it's slower the programs? Because execution time, it need every procedure to execute single instruction. So executing the every instructions, they have to follow the procedure. Because of procedure they need a maximum execution time. It is not suitable for all type of programs over there. Secondly, it is very difficult to convert real world problem into the object oriented programs. Secondly, some tools like testing tool, debugging tools, development tools, they are not standardized for this OOPS concept. There is one more disadvantage over there. This is a polymorphism and dynamic binding. Basically these two functions are used for linking between the various codes of the function while creating, while time of executing the program. It means while the time of at the time of running time of the program, when they link with the any other function, at that time the overloading of function should be executed at the time of running. So this running help us to make reduce the program execution. So in this way these are some disadvantages of the OOPS. Next is application of OOPS, where OOPS is should be used. So in computer application today we have so many animation movies are there, so many graphical games are there. In this a C++ concept, not C++, every concept is used in traditional, in latest a Python is a more trend. It is used also in the AI, in the expert system, in the modeling, in the simulation, in the object oriented databases, in the client server systems, in so many things they are to be used. Okay, this is the basic all concepts of OOPS, what actually OOPS is to be and how OOPS is to be executed and how it is used into the real world. Thank you and have a nice day.